Hey folks, I'll be getting started here real soon. I had to reboot my laptop and didn't know that I would need to reboot my laptop and all that stuff. So fun, wow. Good times. So I'm just getting ready to get started here. I've got chaos going on around me as Mrs. and our youngest are getting ready to go out the door to a job interview for him. And I hope that goes well for him. All right, you heading out? Okay. Let's dive in. Hey, it's Thursday, September the 19th in the afternoon, and I am Rob, the developer dad, and I'm building an application that is going to help me at my D&D table. Right now, it's generating NPCs on the fly for when my players try and stump me by asking for life details about the shopkeeper or the tavern server person or whatever. And I got sick of calling everybody Bob and not having that information at my fingertips. So I wrote a little app that's going to help me bring that kind of flavor to my campaigns in nearly on demand. And this morning we finished up the bits of code that I needed to put in place so that we can keep track of how much of these limited resources my people are using, or my eventual customers will be using, because AI isn't free and cloud storage isn't free and cloud hosting and all that stuff ain't free either. But so I do need to run this thing as a paid service. It'll be software as a service thing. And for some of the aspects, things like the web app hosting and the vast majority of the database costs and everything like that, I call those overhead. The AI consumption and the user data storage, though, I can wrap into the subscription price. And that means I'm going to need to keep track of who is using how many of those resources so that I can keep the pricing for this service fair to my users and fair to me as the person who's ultimately paying those bills. So I set up some basic quotas to start with. I figure 100 stored characters all time and 100 AI generations on a monthly basis. It seems like a pretty good place to start for this kind of thing. So I've got those quotas getting tracked as those activities are happening, and I'm plumbing the quota information down to the UI process. And now I need to show those on the screen. So let's figure out where we're going to put those. And I can see an eventual need for some sort of account screen at some point. I don't think I need it just yet, but eventually we're going to want some sort of account management screen or account information screen or whatever. We don't need it for day one. Now this is probably gonna barf on me because the database goes to sleep when it's not being used for a period of time. That's the next topic I want to take on this week. But first, let's get those quotas displaying here in the UI. Now, this is going to take a minute to fall over, and here we go. We'll reload and try running it again. Here we go. Blah, bitty, blah, boogity, boo. And I could actually pop open Azure real quick. I'll do that on another screen here. Pull this over here. Go to portal. Log in. And I just want to see how that database. Oh, okay, database is up. I'll leave the Azure portal up on my other screen here. So we've got this stuff, and I think we definitely want to put the quota information down here on the NPC list. And when we come to this screen, I think I want to have a little tag for stored and storage limits and generation limits somewhere on screen. Maybe here, maybe up here. I'm not sure yet. But we need to form that data first off. And we're going to want it in a couple of different places. So I think I will do this as a Blazor component. So to set up a new Blazor component, I'm going to come into the pages. I don't need the services so much. I do need the pages. And component services, page models, partials. This is absolutely going to be a partial component. So let's add a new Razor component. And I'm going to call this usage information. Add. Okay, so we've got usage information. It's not going to be an H3. However, it is going to need a couple of things. Now, I believe I've got on the NPC attributes, got framework converters, middleware. Where am I bringing that in? It's a parameter. Should have a cascading parameter around here somewhere. Doesn't look like it. Pardon me. So usage information. I can close out this resource result. I'll need that AppStateProvider. Character workloads can go away. NPC service proxy can go away. I might need that page model. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and find, I just saw the AppStateProvider. It's a cascading parameter. I'm going to grab this guy. And in usage information, I'm going to come in and preview changes, replace from server. I don't want to do any of that. Pardon me. I am going to add a class called usage information dot razor dot cs. And it's going to be a public partial class. And it is now our code behind. And I'm going to pass in that cascading parameter. Excuse me. Goodness. Now, I'm going to have a couple of properties on here. Prop string and storage quota string. We're just going to go get set here for now. And we're going to have a public string AI gen quota string, also as a get set s. Now these guys are actually both going to be just string generation type things. So let me private string build quota string. It's going to take in a user limit. No, not a user limits model, but a limited resource model. Call it quota. And string quota string equals string dot empty. Boop. Return quota string. Now, if make that nullable. If quota is not equal to null, quota string equals quota dot budget and I want it to be consumed slash quota dot consumed and the next thing I need to do is string resource equals quota dot resource title dot as label. Yeah. Now for that, I do want to come up into my framework. The game tools framework specifically. Converters. Add a class, and we're going to make it a enum labels. Enum labels? Enum label converters. This guy's going to be public static. And public static string to UI label. This metered resource kind and resource kind string UI label string.empty return UI label, and this is going to be inelegant and brute force. Screw it. Switch resource kind. Now there's a new way of doing switch statements. And for that, I think I'm going to use Edge. Because I find Microsoft Copilot to be much more helpful in my initial question and answer session about C# and stuff like that than Google is. So in dotNet 8, I believe there's a new switch expression that looks to be more readable than the old switch case structure. What's the syntax for that new switch expression look like? If it's a .NET 9 thing, just tell me and I'll use the old way. Blah, 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 blah. An interesting thing about Microsoft Copilot, I've got all these past chats, and I've been talking to it a lot about different aspects of Blazor and the application and everything like that. And it actually rags in the prior conversations that it's had with me for additional context. So right here, it says, feel free to try it out in your Blazor application, blah, blah, blah. It only gets that because of these saved prior conversations. If I go in and delete all of these conversations, it's not gonna have that context to use anymore. And no, Microsoft doesn't just store all of our chats and use it for retraining that I'm aware of. I'm pretty sure I've seen in the end user license agreement that they don't. Occasionally, Microsoft employees may need to access the prior chats for support purposes, but that's it. They don't ingest these conversations into future iterations of model training, at least according to their license agreement. And their privacy policy explicitly says that they do not. But it just struck me as an interesting point to see it refer back to, I'm writing a Blazor app, blah, blah, blah. That's all tangential to my original question. Here's that switch expression. And I kind of like this. I really like the way that shakes out. So I'm going to pull this off to the other screen just so that I've got it to crib from. And instead of this, I am going to say UI label equals resource kind switch, and then open a block. And fix the spacing and everything like that, because I have a feeling it doesn't quite know how to deal with that just yet. So I'm going to go metered resource kind dot NPC storage projects to stored NPCs, metered resource kind dot NPC AI detail AI details. And then, of course, we're going to have a throwaway, which needs to project to string.empty. And I got to spell it right. There we go. So to UI label. Let's save this. We'll come back to UsageInformation.razor and say dot to UI label. Now, this doesn't know about that assembly or anything like that yet, so I do need to bring in using gametools.framework.converters. And now it knows about my extension method. And I can bring this in. I'm going to change this from resource to resource label. All right. And what we can do here is say build quota string AppContext dot get user limits dot result dot NPCs in storage. Oh, wait. Is that what I want? Build quota string for that. And then, of course, I do this. Okay. That's a little ugly. I don't love that. I really don't love that. But it'll do. Build quota string AppContext dot get user limits dot result NPCs NPC AI descriptions. Save. Now, what do we do with these strings? Well, we got to come back out here and I can get rid of my code. Don't need that code block anymore. And I am going to div ID equals, no, not even gonna. Div class equals quota report, quota container, excuse me. And I'm gonna have a paragraph. And it's going to have at the storage quota string. What's this complaining about? Nothing. I'm going to have another paragraph at, it's not going to let me see it, AI gen quota string. All right. Yeah. And then finally, down here inside our, not the converters. Well, let's not start messing with that bit yet. So I've got my usage information.razor, AppStateProvider, create NPC page model. And let's put this into the NPC list. Excuse me. Goodness. So here's main. That's the NPC list. Empty table text. NPC list footer will go here. Let's add a usage information component. And I expect that will bring that in here because it's in the same namespace. If not, we'll add it. At AI, PC, blah, blah, blah. I think that's full of beans. That's full of it. Save it. Build solution. Pardon me. All right. Now let's take this for a spin. As soon as it's done building. There we go. Run! Run! Run, ya boogers! Okay, game runner helper. Let's sign in. Sign in. Here's that. Come over to NPCs. And I have a feeling that something's vomiting. You're not going to load for me because I goofed something up. And it's not immediately apparent. So let's see. Where's our DevTools? Settings. In private window, browser essentials, more tools, developer tools. I have a feeling there's probably something out on the console. WebSocket connected. And if I hit NPCs, yeah, something's broken. So here's NPC list raiser. Usage information. Yeah, okay. So let's actually comment this guy out. Restart. Make sure it comes back to us. Here's that. We'll sign in. Go. We signed in. We'll come over to NPCs. That's loading. Good. And there's our footer. All right. So let's stop. And I have a feeling I forgot to do something here. So we're going to uncomment that and come over to usageRaiser.cs. And I'm probably going to need to override on initialized async. And just for laughs, let's override on parameters set async. And let's see if there's anything here. Save. And let's see what loads up when we hit those lifecycle methods. Maybe nothing. We may have the exact same problem that we had before. And if we do, we'll just keep troubleshooting. All right, so that's loaded. Homepage footer, NPCs, we're uninitialized. Good. Is AppContext null? AppContext is not, in fact, null, so that's good. It could be that I just needed to set those overrides. But now it looks like something else barfed on me. Let's see if there's anything in the output log. Thread destroyed. Let's see if it threw any exceptions on me. Identity model, JSON web token is hidden, whatever. Here's all this stuff. All right. Well, let's come back to home and I'll hit NPCs. It doesn't look like anything is happening there. So let me reload. We'll start the request stack all over again. We know we're good here. So there's that. On parameters set async is here. Good. Child content, all of this stuff, service proxy, protected session store, AppContext. It's got my user. It has not yet got that. So let's come in here. Actually, let's go all the way out to AppStateProvider and go into get user limits and drop a breakpoint right here. And hit continue. We're in here. Where are we in the call stack? Get user limits, usage information, storage quota string get, a bunch of external Blazor code. Good. So continue. Yeah, I know you lost your connection because I was farting around. Continue. We're here. Let's continue. Excuse me. We're stuck in the loading state. And something. Did my database go to sleep again? I don't know. It's online, theoretically. Let's reload again. Continue. Yeah, it's stuck in that loading. I think it got into a bizarre state here. So I'm going to kill these things here. We'll run it. Sign in. Go to NPCs. And it's trying, but it's failing. Okay. I'm going to try a different tack here. Instead of storage quota string and AI gen quota string and all that stuff, I'm just gonna pop out to my actual Razor component. And I'm gonna say storage like that. AI generations that. We're just going to try some hard-coded nonsense here first. And make sure I didn't forget anything vital. I might have forgot something important. It's entirely probable. Okay, we're logging in, yada. Come over to NPCs, storage, AI generations. Okay. So we know that component is loading. I suspect. No, we're good here. Usage information .razor. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add a public bool is ready. Get private set. All right. And then if no, what am I doing? If AppContext dot get user limits equals null. Dot get user limits, and we're going to await it. Protected override async task. Here we go. And in here, we're going to say is ready equals true. No, we're not. We're not going to do that there. We're going to do that is ready equals true. Now, AppContext, that can't be null. I'm just going to let that do that. If AppContext is null by the time we start rendering this, I think the app should crash. So is ready equals true. Now, out here in the actual Razor code, at if is ready, we're going to do this. Else, we're just going to say usage data. Loading usage. Save. Okay. And then I think what I need to do private user limits model equals await app context get user limits. State has changed. And then down here in these, I can say user limits model. All right. Save that. Let's take this for a spin now. Go to sign in. And we'll see if this gave us any improvements. Let's go to the NPC list. Storage bappity bap. AI generations bappity bap. And I don't think I actually updated the... Yeah, no, I didn't. So I got to do this at user. Nope. Oh, what did I call those properties? I swear. Storage quota string and AI gen. Storage quota string and at AI gen quota string. Save those. Let's see if it's doing anything out here. No, let's try refreshing. Nah, I'm gonna have to restart the app. That's okay. Boop. Doesn't take that long to spin up. All right, we'll sign in. Go. Come into NPCs. And we've got nothing. Okay. I want to drop the breakpoint here too. And we'll refresh and see what's happening here. Refresh. Quota is null. Okay. Continue. Quota is still null. Continue. All right. So, what that says to me is that set user limits. Well, this AppStateProvider.razor got itself into a weird state in the code editor. Get user limits, set user limits, save changes async. Excuse me. AppContext key. AppContext. Okay. And public event handler no. Gosh, it's so much time elapses between times that I need to do this. Here, come here, Edge. I need to add a collection of event handlers to a class so that when a property in that class is changed, it can notify any other instances that have attached a handler to that event. I can't remember the syntax. for this. I'm using C# and dotNet 8. Find the event. Okay, so event handler, or public event, event handler, my event on the class. And then we do that. Blah, blah, blah. Groovy. Easy enough. So first I need to create an event handler delegate. So I am going to, on the AppStateProvider, add a class called AppContext changed event handler. All right. And we're going to inherit from event handler. Of type string. What are you complaining about? Oh, okay. Cannot derive from sealed type. Okay. Yeah, I don't need to add this class. Don't save. So we could delete that. Goodbye. Now, on the AppState, the AppStateProvider, I'm going to add a public event of type event handler of string context item changed. Well, what are you complaining about? I'll make it nullable. There we go. Context item changed. So I need to add a private void on context item changed. String context key. And I'm gonna say, excuse me, context item changed dot invoke context key. I believe that pattern works. There. All right, so on context item changed. Now, up here in UsageInformation.razor.cs, come in here and say private void on handle context item changed string object sender string context key if context key equals user name of user limits model. And I believe that's what I'm using there. I'll go back and double check that in a second. Then user limits model equals AppContext dot get user limits await async task. Fine. Async and we'll call state has changed to cause a repaint. Save all that stuff. Up here, if app context is not equal to null, app context dot on dot context item changed plus equals handle context item changed async. Now this is not compatible with what's expected over there. That has the wrong return type. Excuse me. So over here, is there such thing as an async event handler? Async event handler that accepts a func of event handler task. It's thinking. Use a func delegate that returns a task. Okay. Complete example. So public event func object event args task my async event. Perfect. That's what I want to do. So here, public event, I'm going to change this to a func of string and task. Save that. Run down here to the bottom. Do that. Async task. Await this. Save. Now come back over to UsageInformation.razor. Come back down to handle context item. We don't need the sender anymore. Save that. Make sure my handler registration works. I can rename this from handle context item changed async to on. There we go. Save that. Pop back over to AppStateProvider. And whenever we set the user limits, we await save changes async. And then I await on context item changed, passing my context key. Save. And come into usageinformation.razor.cs. I want to put a breakpoint right here. Get rid of this breakpoint. I could probably get rid of this, but I'm not sure. Is ready equals I'm going to change is ready from setting that here to user limits model does not equal null. There. Save all that stuff. AppContext.get user limits. Okay. We are not receiving the event if AppContext is null. Let's try this. And if this doesn't work, I got to cut today's session off at this point. I know I got a bit of a late start, but we've been at it for about an hour. I do have a job interview at 4:30 today, so fingers are crossed. But that also means that I can't spend hours and hours doing this stuff today. But I feel like I'm really, really, really close to getting this bit sorted. So we're signed in, got my NPCs, we've hit a breakpoint. If AppContext is not equal to null, and let's see what's going on here. AppContext is not null. So I'm going to attach my thing, and we'll keep stepping. And do I have a breakpoint here? Not yet, but I'm gonna. Here's that. Context key is user limits model. So let's step. User limits model. And let's see about is ready. Is ready is true. Let's continue. Quota is not null. Continue, continue. Stored NPCs, 14 of 100. AI details, 4 of 100. Thing of beauty. Now, let's create another one. Roll it again. Elf cartographer. Yeah, why not? Generate that. Oh, there goes that. Cool. Continue. Continue. and I'll save, and I'll go back to the list, and those numbers should be higher. Stored NPCs is now 15, AI details is 5, and that's a thing of beauty. And because we've had some success, I feel good about carrying on. Because all I want to do now is tidy this up a little bit. So I think what I'll do is come in here. There's NPC list raiser. I don't need to futz with that anymore. And I don't need to mess with create NPC page models. So here's usageinformation.razor.c#. And I need a usage information. I have to add it as a file. Add a new item. It's going to be a style sheet. Here we are. And it's going to be usage information .razor.css. So this is only going to affect the things in usage information. So I do want to see the structure of this guy. So I've got quota container, right? Dot quota container display is flex. Flex direction is a row. Justify content is going to get space around. And align content gets center. Save. I think that's all I need to do there. We'll sign in. Go here. Go to the NPCs list. And we've hit a breakpoint. That's okay. I'll just clear these out as we go. Stored NPCs, 15 of 100. AI details, 5 of 100. And we need to inspect this element. Quota container, stored NPCs. All right, AI details is 5. I has a feeling that P is forcing a realignment. So instead of using paragraph tags, I'm going to use a span on both of those. And let's save. And we'll refresh and see if that did anything for us. No, I'm going to have to restart. That's so silly. And we sign in. Go through the Entra thing. Blah, 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 blah. Loading the NPCs. Okay, that's a little better. That's a little bit better. It's still a little blah. So, I think what I want to do and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything with this CSS and have it like reflect live. Quota container. Dot quota container. And I believe I can go all children and say text, no, font weight, we'll make it bold. Padding, it goes top, right, bottom, left, or top, bottom, left, right. And I want to go 0.1 relative M and we'll go 1 rem on the sides. Background color. I'm not going to mess with any of the CSS goofiness that I started elsewhere, but I am going to go with a light gray. And I'm going to say border radius 0.1 rem. Actually, no, we'll go with a 0.25, quarter rem. Save. And I feel like I got the Flexbox stuff here not quite right. So justify content. I think space between is going to make it go boink, like so. Let's do space around. I want to do unsafe center. Pretty sure space around is what I want. And align content. I'm second guessing that. Align content. Are you going to explain it to me? Center. I'm going to have to break open the Flexbox cheat sheet again, I think. That looks a little better. That looks significantly better. CSS saved. It is. And let's save. Nope, I screwed it up again. Okay. Yep, let's bring back the Flexbox cheat sheet. New window. CSS Flexbox cheat sheet. Here we go. Flexbox layout guide. This is the good one. Okay, here's container items. Flex direction is row. We got that. I don't care about flex grow or flex wrap or shrink or basis. Here's justify content. Center, space between, space around is correct. And align items is along the center line. So that's what I want there. And align content is center. All right. So I need to add align items and align content. And align items. We're also going to go center. I'm going to do that. Save. I don't think I needed that. There we go. So good. Good, good, good. Save. Quota container span. See if that did anything for me. Nope, not yet. But I kind of like that. Let's see how it looks in a mobile view. And then I can get into the monkeying around here. Yeah. Okay. Now, instead of trying to use this nonsense, I'm going to say quota item. I'm going to save this. I'm going to come over back to the razor. Span class equals quota item. I'm going to grab this and that. Save it. I don't need anything in here. I've got this. I want to make sure I've grabbed this and that I'm spelling it correctly. All right. And refresh. Yeah, it doesn't like that at all, does it? I goofed something up. What happens if I, whoops, do this? Shift Alt, pop those out of there. Save. I might have to refresh because I altered the actual structure. And that's a little better. That's better. We're getting there. Now, padding, 0.01. I completely lost the padding on the sides. 1 rem. I'm going to shrink Visual Studio down a little bit. So that's good. Padding. 0.5 rem. Save. Didn't give me anything. Font weight, bold. Border radius is 0.25. Border 1 px. Solid black. Save. And refresh. What the heck is it even doing? Save. Okay, it's back. And now I gotta figure out what's going on here. What if I just take the padding to half a rem all the way around? Okay. So that's that. That's a little chunky. That's a lot chunky. Top, right, bottom, left. So I'm going to go 0.1. 0.5 rem. And I think it was the commas that were screwing me up. I'm almost positive of it. And I want even more padding around the edges. So 0, I'm going to go 0.75. Save. That's better. That ain't bad. And instead of black, I'm going to go gray. Because I don't want them to look like buttons. That's better. And I think on the quota container, where the hell is the closing bracket on quota container? That could have been a huge part of my problem all along. Align item center. I do want to throw a border on this very briefly. Border 1, solid red. Save that. I'm going to go 1 px. All right. So that's that. And let's inspect this guy. Quota container is just inside the footer. And it's a flex, margin top auto. Come on, pop up. Margin top, border top, padding, 0.5 rem, 1 rem. Feature host footer all gets overridden by other stuff. But I do need to add that flex 00 auto so that this chews up the entire space. I did forget that part. flex is 0, 0 auto. It might need to be 0, 1 auto. I'm not sure. Nope, I guess not. Oh, you bonehead. I broke something. Bonk. Save. There's that. That's body. App host. Feature host. Task host is hidden. Task host shown. Header main footer. Here's that. And quota container. Excuse me. What if I go flex? One, 0. Oops. Auto. Save. Does that do anything for me? Nope, it just screws everything up. Get lost. Save it. You know what? Good enough. I'm going to get rid of that border. Save it. And let's close out of this. I think this looks pretty darn good. These update. I could add a little bit of happiness later on so that as we get closer and closer to our threshold, we could color code these things or what have you. And yeah, I think this is getting into a good spot. So I'm gonna, before I call it a stream, let's do the source control ritual. Integrates the metered usage tracking into the user actions that concern limited resources. Adds a visual component that displays the user's consumption of those resources, and commit. Flip to main. Pull. Main is up to date. I'm going to flip back to integrate usage meter into UI. Let's see about merging into changes 0 files. Let's give it a push. And I'll do the pull request and redeployment and all that stuff later on. I need to give my head a shake and get ready to talk to a recruiter man about a role with a company that a friend of mine works at as an architect that he might have use for me as like a staff developer or something like that. If this works out, I am going to have to change my streaming schedule significantly, because I probably won't be able to do this twice a day, midday, once I'm employed full time again, but I will figure out a way to continue doing this regularly. It might shrink to a couple of times a week in the evenings instead of during the day, but we'll figure it out. I am going to keep going with this. Um, and until I'm full time, I'm going to carry on with my regular schedule. So until tomorrow, I wish you a good evening. Take care of yourselves. It's a mean world out there. Don't make it worse for yourself or the people around you. And take care. Happy coding. And tomorrow we start taking on the question around how do we make this thing a little bit more resilient and a little less crappy when our back-end systems have gone to sleep on us. So until then, take care. Happy coding.